Welcome, everyone, on behalf of Profound Impact. This is our second webinar. It is part 2 of an episode entitled Leveraging Institutional Strategic Objectives to Drive Alumni Engagement. We certainly appreciate you joining us today. Our objective is to share ideas and things that we think you might find interesting and that would be helpful for you and your work. And while we're at it, we'll tell you a little bit about the Profound Impact platform. My name is Sherry Shannon Vanstone. I am the president and CEO and founder of Profound Impact. Joining us today is Greg Dick, Executive Director of Advancement and Senior Director of Public Engagement. Greg has been with the Perimeter Institute for 11 years and in his current role since January. He is a graduate of Waterloo, Queens, Western, and Wilfrid Laurier. Joining Greg from Perimeter is Sunny Zhang, Associate Director of Marketing, and Tanya Framps, Associate Director of Advancement Operations. Additionally, Brian Romansky, who is the Chief Strategic Advisor to Profound Impact, will be speaking to us about the Profound Impact platform. I've had the good fortune to work with Brian on several startups. Last but not least is Barney Ellis Perry, fundraising and alumni engagement strategist. He is a Canadian and currently living in Southern California. Isn't he special and lucky? Barney has been in advancement over 30 years and has always been interested in technology for scaling constituent engagement. Now, let me tell you a little bit about what we will be covering today in our webinar. Greg will give you an overview of Perimeter Institute. Barney will give a recap of the 4 steps we demonstrated in part 1, episode 1 last month. Greg and his team will quickly recap the progress they have made on their strategy since the last webinar. We will share both the implementation roadmap and the technology mapping of the strategy to get an understanding of what it will take to take this from strategy and the strategy from theory to reality. And then Brian will provide an overview of how the Profound Impact platform could support Perimeter Institute's strategy. We will have time for Q&A, so please post your questions in the chat as we go. Today is all about how strategy needs to drive all decisions, including what technology platform you choose. So we hope you will be more aware of the following after we are done today. How to move from a high-level strategic objectives to implementation. How to map your strategy against technology and considerations for implementing a constituent engagement platform and greater knowledge of the Profound Impact platform. Okay, Greg, over to you.
Thank you, Sherry. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Greg. I'll tell you a little bit about Perimeter. Perimeter Institute is a theoretical physics institute where some of the world's most talented physicists come to tackle some of nature's most challenging questions, literally from understanding the exotic world of quantum mechanics, the foundational building blocks of our universe, to the expanding cosmos. How did it begin? How will it end? Pretty esoteric stuff. But in the end, it is discoveries from theoretical physics that have brought us your cell phone, MRI technology, even the fact that we can beam into onto your screens this afternoon. So there's a real connection over history, and we know into the future that discovery of our deep discovery in terms of our understanding of the universe will truly change society. So we feel privileged to be part of that process at Perimeter Institute. And at Perimeter, in terms of Canada, Perimeter is on the world stage, and it helps Canada punch well above its weight in terms of foundational science. So we feel very blessed to be part of the Perimeter family. In terms of what I do and my team does, so I have the good fortune of leading, as Sherry mentioned, the science communications, outreach, and advancement teams. And that puts us in a really unique position because all of those areas, plus others, have a significant stake in an effective and vibrant alumni programming. And our journey to develop an alumni program over the past several years has been far from a straight line. It's zigged and zagged. It's had some great ideas, but overall, I would say our development and deployment has been a bit ad hoc because we have so many distinct perspectives. So the opportunity to work with Sherry's team and to step back and build an alumni program from first principles was an opportunity we just couldn't say no to. And it's been a really, really productive month. Looking forward to sharing some of that journey over the last month with you. And maybe just before I turn it back over, what has come out, one key learning that has come out for me is each of our organizations has what we deem as special and unique characteristics. And we all have those different unique items, whether it's audiences or reasons for wanting an alumni program, what we hope to get out of it. What this process has helped to uncover is not only what those unique pieces are, but just how important it is to see those as the opportunities and then connect them all the way back to your institutional vision. So I look forward to sharing some of our journey, and back to you, Sherry.
Thanks, Greg. That's awesome.
Or Barney, sorry, back to you.
That's okay. It's all of us. We're all one big team.
Yes.
Even though, Greg, when you do figure out how the universe is going to end, please don't tell us.
Oh, I got a good book I can reference for you.
Okay. I'm not logging on to that webinar when you guys present that. No, thanks. Okay, so what we did in our first webinar, I just want to tell you really quickly. So the premise that we're working from is that the strategy that you create and you implement, and that would be the strategy for which you would want a platform such as Profound Impact, needs to be derivative of the overall institutional strategic plan. So firstly, you're starting at the highest level, the mission and vision, and that's what Greg just covered there. Then you're looking at the institutional strategic plan and pulling it apart and saying, okay, where can alumni bring lift to that? Where can our constituents can help? And is that in advocating? Is that in donating? Is that volunteering? What does that look like? And that may sound incredibly obvious, but I look at a lot of strategic plans for alumni organizations, and I can tell you, most of the time they look at the mission and vision of the institution, and then they go straight to the alumni plan. And so I believe there's this big missing step there. And this is the work that we're going to share with you that we're doing with Perimeter, is we've taken apart Perimeter's strategic plan and said, okay, here are the areas where alumni and friends can bring lift to that. And that's not every area. So in each of the three core areas of their overarching mandate, we found areas where we believe we can bring lift to that. So what we do from there is then look at strategic goals. So what are those strategic goals? And those are the desired outcome that we're trying to achieve through an alumni and friends strategic plan. Then we take to the next level, we go for our objectives. And what is it we're trying to do? Why? Then underneath that, we then look at the tactics. How are we going to do that? And that's really taking the action you're going to take, and the tactics are usually on a year-by-year basis. So your strategic goal, maybe, you're going to have 3 of those, maybe 3 or 4. In this case, we have 3 big strategic goals, and they're the nice big sound bites. And then we have the objectives under those goals. And then we have the tactics that are the annual things, the things you're going to do every year, and one year and maybe not the next year, in order to achieve those objectives. And then you have the metrics for how you're going to measure your success and report back on that. So that's the framework that we're working from. And that's, it's been a lot of fun. So what I'd like to do now is have the team share with you what we've done in between our episodes here, so that we can give you the big reveal. So Sunny, if you're not too sick of working with me yet, maybe you can walk us a bit through the process.
I'm so definitely not sick of working with you. I really, really, really have enjoyed this process. So definitely not sick of you yet. Firstly, we brought together our alumni task force, which comprised of alumni and staff and current doctoral students. We shared the draft goals that we had created from the first sessions and objectives and strategies, and their input was incredibly helpful. It was really a great way to get the groups together and hear what they had to say. And I think it was interesting that Greg had said something to me that that, each of the different groups, because we subdivided, came back together and had some of the similar types of thoughts and ideas, which was really great. Then we took that input, and the four of us met to reorganize, shape, and edit the goals, objectives, and the strategies that we'll share in a few minutes. And then you, Barney, and Greg had some back and forth on what the path forward could look like and how the strategies can map against the technology. And so we're quite excited to share our progress in a few minutes.
Awesome. And Tanya, you've often, when we're working on things, you'll say, and you have these great aha moments. Do you want to share a couple of those? And then I think we've all had the conversations that we're trying to summarize here.
Sure. So as you know, and as Greg alluded to, we've been working on this for a while. Before Barney, before you came along, and even before I came along, because I'm relatively new. And the first sort of aha moment was we finally sort of realized that we've been too focused on data collection and technology. So we need to collect information, and how are we going to do that and connect people to each other? So essentially information gathering and the technology to do that. And we realized we really needed to take a step back, look at the overarching strategy, how that fits with our institution, as you've both already alluded to. So really it's that big picture thinking, long-term strategy is very important. And then things like platforms are important tools and resources to help you meet your objectives. And I think the biggest aha moment, though, was right under our noses all along, and we didn't realize, which is our teachers network. We have an incredible network of teachers who stay in touch with Perimeter and with each other in a genuine and authentic way, because they're getting tremendous satisfaction and value from doing that. And this is an incredible model, not super formal, but it's been going on for a long time, and it could serve as a model for our alumni strategy. The downside is that it's taken about 20 years to get to where it is. We hope it won't take that long for our Alumni and Friends network, but it's an excellent starting point, taking the learnings and best practices from that.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah, that was a really good moment. It's always fun when that happens. Greg and Sunny, do you have any other comments on the aha moments or anything else to add?
Sunny, you first, and then I'll chime in.
Well, I think I alluded to that when I earlier said that one of the aha moments was how there was some consensus or some similar types of suggestions made from the different varying groups once we subdivided them, which made me feel like, well, this is really a good thing because we all are coming from almost the same kind of ideas. And of course, what I really loved was that everyone felt, and not just the people who were in the groups and were helping us, but institutional-wide felt that this is such a big step forward for us to build this program and how important it is for us.
Yeah, totally. And I think having that group also gives your support for it institutionally and also with your community as you roll it out as well. Mm-hmm. Greg.
And and my aha moment was one that I probably knew in the back of my mind, but was afraid to look at so directly, which ties back to what Tanya said about the teacher network. It really is a good model in that it's very much a two-way street. The value that the teachers get from Perimeter is incredible, but the value that we get from the teachers to make the right resources and to share them is equally crucial. And that's not the aha moment. That I've talked about lots and lots over the years. The aha moment is the amount of resources, energy, and people power we put into that is not insignificant. So that connecting that dot to, well, if we want a alumni program, a robust, valuable, meaningful alumni program, we can't have it run off the side of desks. It's going to take some dedicated resources. So this foreshadows more of what's coming, I know, but it forced that to be front and center for me.
And Sunny and Tanya, this is being recorded, so you get to play this back to him in 6 months, just so you know. So we're going to now quickly look at where we've landed with your strategy. So Sunny, I'm going to ask Sunny you to do the first one for research, and then Tanya to do training, and Greg will do outreach. Sunny.
Great. So the research alumni are people who have come to Perimeter in some sort of research capacity. And we want to make sure that as an objective that they remain connected to us and that the connection and the affinity extends beyond their time at PI. Some are here for just a short period, some are here for longer periods. And from that, the strategies that we want to place that will help uplift that objectives, we think are that we make decisions based on real information. We support the recruitment and the training of the best talent. And we ensure that the alumni and friends are lifelong advocates of PI so that when they leave, they will help us with their support and by introducing new students to PI. And of course, we want to encourage a culture of engagement with the alumni and our friends. So the tactics that we came up with for these 4 different strategies was that for the first one, that we want to collect the right data to support the effective decision making. And then when supporting the next strategy, we want to make sure that we, the recruitment and support for the underrepresented groups, we're very big on that at PI. We have huge platforms to ensure that we have equity and diversity at PI. So we want to make sure that we can do that as well with our alumni groups. We want to demonstrate that the impact and opportunities past perimeters, of course, we want to make sure that they have the ability to move forward in their careers or to help with moving other students and alumni forward as well. We want to undertake research to understand what keeps our alumni and friends connected to us, because of course, different groups of different segments of our research community will want different content from PI or engagement opportunities with PI. And the last one was, of course, what Greg was talking about, what we've all been talking about, which was adopting and applying a teacher network type of model, their successes and how that aligns with the activities for researchers. So using that kind of a model to look at how we can move our researcher alumni forward to this, our alumni community. So
that's great. Thank you very much. Tanya, let's have a look at training.
Sure. So our original sort of strategic goal continues to ring through throughout this, which is really ensuring that our alumni and friends are connected with us, Perimeter Institute, and with each other over the long term. And building on what Sunny talked about in research, it's not about a particular activity or a tool. It's about being authentic, bringing value and a reciprocal relationship, and that takes time. So we recognize that this takes time, and we want to use that data that we've collected to foster a culture of connectivity through everything we do. One of the main objectives is to engage and re-engage our alumni and friends by empowering their careers with career support, mentorship programs, whether that's in academia or industry, and providing opportunities for training, workshops, and that kind of thing. Hoping, we have developed some metrics, but hoping we'll see more and more that our alumni are being offered positions in their desired fields. Through our mentorship program, we want to see that students are taking advantage of the opportunities that we're providing to them and staying connected throughout their time, both at PI and once they leave. And we want those connections to be meaningful. We want them to connect with us in meaningful ways. So of course, one way to do that is to provide a platform for engaging and staying connected to Perimeter and to each other, recognizing that that communication has to be facilitated, two-way, and bring value. We talked about things like events and reunions and meetups, digital communications that are customized, segmented based on the needs of our alumni and friends, swag and special identifiers, and alumni awards and special recognition touches. And that's where we've landed so far. There's still work to do, but I feel like we're on the right track.
That's awesome. Thank you. And Greg, outreach.
All right, and a lot of similar themes through the outreach as well. In the end, just to walk through the graphic here, the outreach connects with general public, students and teachers. So it's about creating alumni programs and ways to stay connected to each of those groups to differing degrees. One, as we talked about at length already, is the teacher network. It is the model, the real resources and activities that are used there. It works so well because of that two-way street that we talked about before. So keeping that communication lines wide open and making that work. The metrics and tracking on that are actually pretty well developed because they're part of the core mandate of outreach, of getting out there and doing what needs to happen for that constituent group. And I'll throw a little brag in for the outreach crew that our resources are used in 120 countries, over 10 million times a year in classrooms around the world. So that's the model. We know where we are, we've got baseline, we can grow from it, we can continue to be tactical. And then on the other side, we're trying to deepen our support. So, and I'm going to read these actual words. When it comes to sharing the importance of physics and staying connected to our alumni through what the research is actually doing, and that there's a little more gray area there, and figuring out how we develop that two-way communication and make sure we're creating resources that matter most. That's the second piece, and the metrics for that. That's a little bit TBD. We've got a nice thing. We know when and how we want. No, we know when we want to do it and how often we want to do it, but we don't really know what it is that we're doing yet. But we're getting there.
Getting there, working on it. All right, thank you very much. So that's where we've got to in between our episodes. And now we're going to show you a bit more of that, how we're going to take that and now move it to the next level. So what we're showing here is how to break it down. So the theory is, this is all great to have the theory, but what we have to do is make it tangible. And this type of spreadsheet, and this is just an idea, is what would eventually become the unit work plan, say for the outreach department and for the alumni and friends department when that gets created, but also will translate into people's individual work plans. So what you want to do, say we're starting on the far left with the the Perimeter Institute goals. So the high level objectives, so in this case, research, and the goal that comes under that, then with the objective and the tactics that we just talked about. But now we take those tactics and we break them, each one of them out. And what are the components of those tactics? What's the timing? Who's responsible? And here I like to use, there's a lot of these types of models, but the RACI one is one I like. So that's where you're really showing, who's responsible, who's accountable, who's supportive, who's consulted, and who's informed. And that takes a while to define that. But when you do up front, it saves you just so much time down the road. And everybody knows who's responsible for what and where the buck stops. So that's really helpful. Of course, your budget. And here it's blank because we haven't figured it all out yet. And then I like to really look at the technology. So what technology are you using that is going to support that tactic? And sometimes this is going to be blank. And that's where you're starting to look around and say, okay, we need something. And we're going to talk more about that in a minute. Then what other departments are affected? So often is marketing and communications and in the work and alumni constituent engagement. So it's really important to define that. But there may be other departments that you want to make sure that you're identifying what you're going to need from them. And then, of course, what are your metrics? Now, I think there should also be a data column. Sorry, I missed that one. On my other chart, on my other graph, there's a data column. But where is the data coming from? And where does the data need to go to? So that's really important. Now, as I said, this is just a starting point. I've done these with organizations where there's literally 28 columns, and some where there's fewer than this. So it's all what is right for your organization. What are the things you need to capture? And you also can use this document then on sometimes a monthly or a quarterly basis to have an update meeting and say, okay, where are we at? It's now Q2. Did we get everything done in Q1, et cetera? So sort of, and have like red light, green light, amber light on the document. So it's a very living document. So I think that's really important that this is a management tool for you. I don't know, Greg, if you want to add anything about that. I said putting you on the spot there, but.
You know what? No, happy to. So as you said at the beginning, mission and visions are lofty and vague. This document helps you move from that but it also helps you move not just to these standalone program tactics or metrics that by themselves don't necessarily connect to broader programming. So the process, but also this sort of this detailed snapshot, it's just enough detail that it allows, you know, a thoughtful, critical eye to know where you are, like you said, in that process. And you can connect the dots to how it goes back to your institutional objectives. But it also provides, we can evaluate where we're at. We can assess success year over year or quarter by quarter. And I think most importantly, what I like about this way to show the program as a whole is it lets you see, it gives you visibility to prioritization, so that when big programs like this are never launched in one fell swoop. So the ability to communicate, to see the priorities and communicate those priorities across senior management, it gives that kind of detail. And you know what else it does? It gives some confidence. There's a rigor of thinking behind everything, especially when it's completed all the way to metrics, which when completed is, that's a comforting risk mitigation thing too.
And in a perfect world, those metrics are going to show the lift you're bringing to the institutional strategic plan. So what you want to do is show the leadership of the institution, the loop that you're doing, and a return on investment at the end of the day. In a perfect world. So on the next slide, this would be the sort of high level version you might bring to leadership and say, okay, we have this very detailed plan, and this is the summary of it for the year ahead, to get their buy-in. And show how it's going to roll out. And you can do this for year one, or you could do it for 3 years, whatever is best for you. Any thoughts on that, Greg? Or...
Yeah, the thing I like most about laying out the phased plan, regardless, like you say, it's 1 year, 3 years or more, is it goes to resource constraints. I'm sure everyone watching feels the same financial resources, but also personnel, bandwidth resources. Mm-hmm. And with approach, you can see how you have to ramp up resources. You get a sense of if there's milestones, you know when you're successful, and sort of you can move from phase 1 to phase 2 to phase 3. But it also, you can illustrate for senior management where the structural fuses are, where if at this point, we either know we need to pivot or sunset a program, or the trajectory is right and we can do more. And that goes directly to the personnel piece. Way back to the beginning, I said that teacher network illustrated to me the amount of resources and FTE resources you need to put to something like this. This document shows where those FTEs need to come into play, and it's really clear what they'll be doing when you get them. And in a small organization, that FTE piece is always really important. So it's
and gee, you might be in 124 countries and have 10 million uses of your,
exactly.
of your program. I mean, that's a nice metric to have. So earlier we mentioned in the previous slide about looking at this against technology. So another sort of cut of this is to then say, okay, here's our objectives, here's our strategy, here's our tactics. Now, what are we going to do to realize that? And in this case, when we were doing the workshop with the Alumni and Friends Committee, it did come up organically, which was great, that we need a platform of some sort to provide the service and scale it. So here we're looking at the areas, and I pulled the areas where that would work. So we've said we want an alumni platform for two-way communications. One of the things that came up was swag, to foster recognition and connection. Well, that is something you could make available by, through your platform, but maybe you're using Shopify or some way that is, they create the inventory when you need it type thing. Then under the next strategy was create a culture of engagement with alumni and friends. So segmentation of the alumni and friends network, very important to be able to do that. So you're already using HubSpot and marketing automation tools, but profound impact can be the way that gets out. But the data comes from Salesforce. So, just to show how everything's working together. The next one under there was alumni meetups in person and online that are volunteer driven. Well, profound impact can allow you to do that, or a similar platform can allow you to do that. And again, you're using mobile cause. You could also use something like mobile cause as part of that, as under the platform or supporting it. And HubSpot, things like that. So just thinking about how you're going to tie it all together, because at the end of the day, this is all about getting out of the middle. And as you know, Greg's talked about resource constraint, right? So we think there's about 4,000 alumni of Perimeter. Well, that's what's the ratio? It's going to be like 4,000 to 1 or 4,000 to 2 staff in a year or two, right? So, you know, you're never going to have enough. And, you know, when we do consulting and you look at some of the big institutions, we say, you know, you need to have a ratio of at least 1 to 25,000 alumni, right? So you got to scale it. You got to always be thinking this way. You know, how can you do virtual reunions? How can, you know, we also talked out of this one, the tactic is a quarterly version of the magazine, things like that. All of these things that you need to be able to get out to people in a scalable way. So that's, and then this other slide just shows you a little bit more about that. So coming at it from a very customer-centric perspective. So you're putting, in this case, the alumni friends in the middle, and then all the things you want to be doing in your strategy. And then this helps you create your RFP. You know, you're starting to create your criteria for any technology, and in this case, one of them will be a platform. And you can then start to build your RFP. And so you can really start to, you know, really articulate and know what it is that you're trying to accomplish. So that's where we've got to. And now Brian is going to do, you know, our reality show big reveal of the platform site. Are you ready to go, Brian?
I am. Thank you. Sorry for the delay there. So what we've done is we've put together a couple of views that show you know, what some views into the platform might look like. So we're starting off here with, this is just a view of the existing Perimeter Institute website. I'll explain that in just one second. Before I plow ahead, let me just, a couple reminders. If you saw the previous episode, I went through a quick walkthrough of the platform, showed a couple of features. Not going to repeat that here. Just reference a couple of points. With Profound Impact, when we launch a new platform, the database belongs to you, to your organization. And the limitations and the capabilities of what we can display and what we can show is only bounded by the data that we can make available through the platform. So that data can come from systems you already have, or it can come from your members entering additional data on their own, or third-party sources in some cases. So in the case of Perimeter Institute, as we've already mentioned, they have some data in a Salesforce platform already. First step in setting up a Profound Impact site would be to extract some of that data and make it available within Profound Impact, and we would be able to visualize that in ways that you don't have visibility into today, and I'll show an example of that in a second. And then obviously as users start to come online and use the platform, we would encourage them to donate or contribute their own data to augment what you already have in there, to make it richer, make it more detailed, make it more intact, because as they add more data, the power amplifies and increases. Now, let me just give a couple of quick examples of what could be possible. So again, what we're looking at here is just, this is the existing Perimeter Institute website. I've just added, if you go to the next slide, it just highlights, you know, an extra field on here is the alumni group, right? So the idea here is that you maintain your existing web property. This is where people recognize, this is where people go. If alumni or you know, former members are coming back, where do they go to be part of this subgroup, part of this special you know, private group that's separate from what the rest of the world can see? Well, this is where they go. And if you go on to the next slide. So clicking through that, you would then, as a user, log in, and now you're part of the Perimeter Institute customized view provided through the Profound Impact platform. Now you'll see a headline here. Karen Hallberg is a researcher in quantum physics, and she's currently got a lecture that's being highlighted on the main website, and you can go to the main website and, you know, today go view that lecture and see the technical details that she's relaying. What we imagine for the alumni, for people in this select group who are current or former members of the Perimeter Institute, they're more interested not so much in the lecture. I mean, they can go there and see that as it is on the main site, But here we're going to show the story behind it, right? If you're someone who's inspired by Karen and the work that she's doing, and you say, how did she position herself to do this great work or to be a leader in this field? Well, you click through this banner and you'd see her story, right? A little bit of background about what has she done to position herself as a leader? How had Perimeter Institute impacted what she's done? So you could build up a library of these impact stories. Every time you have a lecture or any kind of special content on the main site, you'd parallel that with a little summary on the Profound Impact site to sort of call out, here's the background behind that story. You saw the technology, you saw the physics, but here's the sort of organizational impact that we've had and the career impact we've had. Now, in addition, on this page, you've got some other highlights called out. The Zachary Weller Davis presentation on December 17th, I think I changed the date. That's also on the main site. It's just a reminder of, hey, here's an upcoming event. In the middle, you see something called a mentoring kickoff. So one of the features that we can offer and one of the capabilities that's in the strategy is to leverage that the network that you have, right? The network of researchers, the network of contacts that you already have. One of the great ways to leverage your network is for mentoring, right? Connect people who have worldly experience and who have done impressive things in various fields, connect them with up and coming students, with educators, with other researchers. Mentoring is a great way to do that. In Profound Impact, we are currently building a mentoring capability and integrating it into the platform. A key feature of that is matching. So anybody who volunteers to be a mentor is going to answer a short survey that identifies key areas that they're capable of, things that they've done. People looking for a mentor would also answer a quick survey. We provide help in matching the right people to the right mentor for a successful relationship. Beyond that, they get reminders and they walk through a process of setting a first meeting, having a conversation, providing some feedback, setting a follow-up. So very basic steps that they can get through email. They don't even have to log into the platform, just to walk them through gently, simple reminders to say, you said you were going to do this, you've offered to help, or you acknowledge that you wanted to connect with someone. So simple reminders to walk into the process. And then a private group within the platform would let you view the status of how many people have met with a mentor, what kind of feedback are we getting from the people who are out there being mentors, what benefits have they gotten from it, and you can see some metrics and a visual of how the program is going, how it's maturing, and hopefully encourage more people to participate. We've also talked about leveraging those alumni groups in terms of separate virtual meetings, right? As Greg had pointed out, you have people all around the world. Obviously, in the current environment, people are meeting virtually, but even in the future, we think virtual meetings are going to continue to be an important part of bringing people together, especially if they're geographically distributed. So you can announce and advertise, virtual alumni events here. You can, within the Profound Impact platform, create private groups. So Strong Gravity could be one of the private groups, and you could have an affinity group, and you might bring together alumni for a particular event. You might invite people from other backgrounds and fields of research into that group to participate, or you might keep it private and host your event right here on the platform, just like we're doing now, right? You can have Zoom integration taken advantage of. You can have a threaded discussion. People can ask questions during the event, or those questions exist after the event, and you can always come back to it and see what happened. Not shown on this slide, quick reference, we do keep track of a global map. And in the current view of the platform, that map shows where people physically are. So in the case of alumni, it might be, which country are they in, where are they doing research? One of the things that Greg pointed out is your training materials used in over 100 countries, right? So we could actually create a custom view, a geographic view that shows where have a training session been done in the last year or the last 18 months or something like that. So again, the visibility is only limited by the data we have. If you give us access to when and where our training's happening, we can graph it geographically, we can graph it on a timeline, we can graph it by topic. So you can get a quick visual reference to say, oh, what topics or which material is being used most, where is it being used, how is it being used, and eventually, how is it having an impact? If you go to the next slide. Again, we've talked quite a bit about leveraging, the research alumni, the network of people that you have. So in addition to talking about that network and messaging that network and communicating to it, wouldn't it be great if you could visualize the network and understand the connections and the impact that they have? So here we see just a very traditional academic family tree style view for Neil Turek. Neil Turek's a former director at the Perimeter Institute and a researcher in theoretical physics. Now, again, the relationships you see here are very traditional academic relationships. Neil was an academic advisor to several people who have gone on to do research of their own. And obviously you could, if this were the live platform, you could click into any of those links and understand what have those people gone on to do, now that they've moved on in their careers. Where are they now? What work have they done? So you could get a sense of the story by clicking through that. Now, again, the platform is, only limited by the data we have. So if you have information about maybe an instructor who taught a course and the people who attended that course, we could graph that out. Or if these were other relationships among people, maybe they're part of a cohort that worked on a research project together and you wanted to understand where they are now, the same type of view can map that out. We've also thought about the current view doesn't offer this, but the connections from a person to their mentees, mentors, mentees, or a person to their followers could be shaded different colors based on when they worked together or the type of collaboration that they did together. So again, because profound impact is driven by data and we have a rich graph database behind this, there's many possibilities of how we can visualize and show that data, and it's limited only by what you make available to us. Go to the next slide. One other quick view I'll show. What we're looking at here is really just the topics of research that are covered within the Perimeter Institute. I believe there's 9 fields of study. So this is just a representative view, again, not driven yet by real data, but the idea here is at its most simplistic level, you're showing the clusters of people, maybe the current researchers engaged in active projects or who have taught a course recently related to these topics. We can shape and color the individuals involved to represent either are they currently active or are they past alumni. You could shape or color them based on geographic location. You could shape it by diversity if people are willing to give information about their cultural ethnic background and willing to make that public. And if the organization's okay with that, you could create a view where you show diversity among either topics of research or geography or some other criteria, if that's something you want to track and highlight, celebrate, show within the organization. Or if you want to encourage people to, within your own group of network of contacts, if you want to say, look, we're looking to diversify this one group. Can you help us do that? Do you know anybody who's doing leading edge work in this area who might bring a diverse viewpoint? You can use your network to help build the network and diversify it over time. The vision of this view is that you'd be able to click through these and see more detail. So with this as sort of a dashboard, you could maybe click into quantum matter. You'd see Karen's lecture there. You might see other people that she's worked with and other people have worked with. You would be able to see other material, maybe training material related to quantum matter, and explore that topic of research through that click into the detail. One last thought is, collaboration across topics we think is really important. So again, where we have data and we can show it, we can show highlights of where has somebody in cosmology worked collaboratively with somebody in quantum information, and again, look through that link and understand what topic brought them together. I didn't realize those two topics were related, but it turns out that they are, and you could learn more about that. So those are just a couple of examples of how the existing visualization capabilities of the platform can be used to create custom views driven by your private data. Reminder again, the data belongs to the Institute, so it's not data that we claim ownership of or that we're going to market to or sell to others. We're just stewards of the data, and we're helping make it visual and make it engaging for people to use. With that, I'm going to pause and ask if there are any questions. You can ask questions through the text chat. or I guess you could also do it perhaps through Zoom, but definitely you can do it on the platform itself. If you have a question, happy to answer it. I'd also invite the Perimeter Institute, if you have any feedback or comments on what I just shared. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
That's terrific. So just for the viewing audience, this reveal was first to us as well. And I was taking some good notes. So gut reaction is, well, first of all, that half step back, and it was mentioned earlier that in our stakeholder groups, people raised their hands from different positions to say we need something digital, but nobody really knew what that meant. They might know some small part of it. What you've been able to do, and the hard work of figuring out what needs to be included, and a lot of this isn't something anybody would have come up with thinking about what they wanted or needed as an audience. So that feels really good. The things that I highlighted of the special note, the visualizations and your impact stories, that's how we tell the impact stories for sure. I love it. And using data to build it, boy, oh boy, that helps us with our provincial and federal reports. That helps us with our fundraising. It helps us with telling the story of why we matter to our public. So that feels great. Mentoring comes up all the time. The fact that you are thinking about that and building up that's exciting to me, because there's something there, but it's always elusive in how you put that together in a way that actually works. Yeah, fantastic. This dashboard you have up right now, interestingly, Perimeter is premised on the researchers aren't even allowed to call themselves a part of any one group. So it's the interconnection between those clusters that is how Perimeter is designed. So the fact that functionality exists and can be celebrated, that's really key. So that's my gut reaction. Well done.
When we update this view with your actual data, maybe these turn out to be more clouds instead of specific people tied to a group, right? They're much more dispersed, and that'd be great.
Yeah, and it would also give us a sense of, are we accomplishing what we're setting out to do?
Right.
I'm optimistic that we would find it quite interconnected, but it would be great to see that. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Greg. Like, I see this and I think, oh, I want to see, you know, how when the brain has all the connecting from one end to the other, those kinds of waves between each. That's what I would like to see happen with that too.
Anybody listening in the audience want to post a question online, or certainly you can contact us after this webinar if you're interested in learning more, or if you want to talk more about the insights and how the platform can do some of these things. I think we do have one more activity. Sherry was going to do a drawing.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you so much, Greg and Sunny and Tanya, for all that you have done, your commitment. When I approached Greg about this case study, I said, and we're only going to take this much of your time. I think certainly you've put much more time and effort in it. And thank you so much for being a part of this. I think we've all learned a lot, and I look forward to staying in touch with you as you execute your exciting new strategy. Now, we are excited to have a winner, to announce a winner for the draw. I've got a hat. I've got all the names in it, people who have completed the assessment, and I am going to make that draw right now. And And the winner is, and the lucky and brave organization is St. Jerome's University, Viola Montgomery. Oh, this is awesome. So St. Jerome's University is one of the affiliated universities with the University of Waterloo. And I'm excited that they're the winner. And Barney, I'll make the introduction and with Viola, and we can move this forward. I just want to remind everyone there will be a draw every month, every webinar. We'll be drawing from those who entered the assessment tool. I just also want to tell you is, if you get into the assessment tool and you're stuck on something, go ahead, just put down some ideas. It doesn't have to be perfect. Remember, this is just trying to see where you're at right now, and just submit it anyway. I know I've received emails saying I'm stuck. I don't know what to fill out here. Just fill out what you can and then submit it, and we will provide a personal report back to you in with Barney. So it'll be a session like this over Zoom, and walk you through the assessment tool and help you get started if you need, you don't have it all figured out right now. Well, thank you all for joining us, and I hope we can continue the conversation about the Profound Impact Platform and how we can help your organization execute your constituent engagement strategy. Our next webinar will be on January 26th on hosting virtual events. This was mentioned several times in this webinar today about virtual reunions and virtual events. And the title of that webinar will be called Case Study. I'm going to read it because it's a little bit long. Case Study, Real-Time Pivot and Connecting the Dots for Multifaceted Engaging Virtual Events at Scale. And we will have Candace Harrington, who is the Director of Advancement in the Math Faculty, University of Waterloo, as a guest speaker for that event. So I look forward to seeing you then. Stay tuned to our emails and our socials, because we're also announcing a newsletter in January. So wish you all happy holidays, and look forward to seeing you in 2021. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sherry.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Barney, Brian, and it's been great.